TV. Welcome to another chat. Just wanted to bring you some boxing news as we're kicking off now. So, bit slow on the boxing front as we've seen football. We've completed, well, all the seasons are completed: Premier League, Bundesliga, Spanish League. Boxing slowly coming back, but it's bit limited because there's no crowd and there's a lot of revenue with crowds in boxing is quite vital. So that's why it's been a bit slow. We've seen some good in terms of if we look at the main promoters. So the first people to come back were Top Rank, but they've been doing in studio shows, not any really spectacular fights. Um, then Frank Warren, he's been doing again in studio BT again, nothing really spectacular. Some good domestic clashes, but nothing stands out. Eddie Hearn, he's probably done be one of the flashier shows in his back garden, quite good, and we've seen two great fights with Sam Eggington and Ted Cheeseman. That was a good toe-to-toe action. We knew it was going to be a good toe-to-toe fight, and then we saw obviously that's a bit domestic level, and then we saw a good fight in with Natasha Jonas. Again, that was more and Terry Harper was a world title fight, so we'll give it that. But not Natasha Jonas, lost her previous fight, so a lot of people had Terry Harper easily winning that. So for the fact that she got a draw was quite good. So nothing too spectacular, but slowly steady stream. So I wanted to just talk about some of the big fights that have actually been announced. There's a lot of fights in the making, but they haven't actually been announced yet. So these are the fights that have been announced. One of the fights is waiting for a date, but I'll start with what I feel is the biggest fight. So PBC are basically they're not doing any fights right now. PBC, to my knowledge, um, Showtime they're doing their fights on Showtime. So I guess smaller fights, but they're not doing anything big like the rest of the promoters. But they've announced a great card, um, a, not one specific card, but a great range of fights that they're going to be doing in from September, October, November. I think there's three pay-per-view fights. Charlo, and one of them, the Charlo twins are headlining one, and one of them is going to be this fight. Where I think out of all the fights announced so far, this is probably the biggest fight taking place. So it's Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. As you can see from the headline, it's it's a funny one because it's for the both titles. The £130 and the £135 titles will be on the line. So I'm not. Obviously, it's been done a book before. I think Sugar Ray Leonard done it before, but I guess it's one of these things in boxing. I'm not sure how you can have two titles on the line when the fight is actually taking place at 130. So Javante Santa Cruz is moving up. I believe he moved up from 122. He's been at 126 and now he's at 130. He didn't want to go to 135. Davis, he's been at 130 before, but he moved up because he failed weight. He didn't make weight. He's missed weight a couple of times. So he went up to 135. Thought Gamboa was a decent fight, but now he's coming back down to 130. Good fight, good fight. I think this is a good, solid fight. Santa Cruz seems like he's been around forever, but he's relative. Well, I think he's in his 30s, so maybe coming towards the tail end of his career. Obviously, Devontae Davis is the upcoming fight. Both of these fighters are with actually, Gervonta Davis is with Mayweather, but Mayweather's got close links to obviously Al Heyman, PBC. Santa Cruz is with Al Heyman, PBC, and he actually named his child Al after Al Heyman because of he was getting all these easy fights, and he was basically getting paid like 1-2 million to fight cab drivers. That was the time when PBC had that 500 million pound investment from the hedge fund, and they were literally just splashing cash everywhere. And he was one of the guys that benefited. So now he's had a couple of fights, but this will probably be his hardest fight. Obviously he's lost to Carl Frampton, so maybe people will say that's his hardest fight. But I feel this will probably be Santa Cruz's hardest fight, especially at this stage of his career. Santa Cruz is a good fighter. It's going to be a big fight. He brings the Mexican crowd, the American Mexicans as well, and Gervonta Davis has got a good following now, especially being under Floyd. So it's a big fight. It's on pay-per-view. It's been announced there October the 24th on Showtime pay-per-view. So it's going to be, actually they don't have arena, so it's a bit weird. Actually, they don't actually have pay per view. So yeah, big fight. What are we going to expect in this fight? Santa Cruz, he just got the work rate. He's not really a big power puncher. Look, you see his record here. 19 KOs. He's not a big power puncher, but he has got a great work rate. He has actually got the typical, even though we've seen him box, we saw him box in the second Frampton fight, he has got the typical Mexican style volume, punches in volumes, comes forward, likes to attack. And his game plan is really just going to be to take Gervonta Davis into deep waters because he feels that Gervonta Davis can't go after five. We've seen Tank, they call him Mini Mike Tyson. Well, he's missed weight a couple of times. He doesn't technically live the lifestyle outside of the ring. We've seen him hanging around with Adrian Broner. He's blown up in weight a couple of times. Um, yeah, he's not really. Obviously, he's young. He can get away with it, but undeniably, he's got talent and he's got power, man. Like, look, if you look at his record, 23 fights, 22 KOs. That left, he has got so much power. So he's not really a volume puncher. He does have good feet work. So it's really going to be the classic fight of a guy that's coming forward, punching in bunches, and a guy that's just going to be looking to land those big shots, and that's what Davis is going to do. I think it's a great fight. I think it's going to be an action-packed fight. I think obviously you've got world titles on the line. I don't agree with this 130, 135 pound thing. It's got everything. Davis right now he had a little falling out with Mayweather because Mayweather was training Devin Haney, but he's in the gym with Mayweather. And look, we're in August now. The fight's in a couple months, September, October. He looks in fighting shape already, so that's a good sign for him because he's really got to work on his cardio. He does load up a lot because he's a big power puncher. So maybe that's why he does get a bit tired, but that's something he's definitely got to improve on. Obviously now he's coming down in weight and he moved up from the 130 pound because he couldn't make the weight. So he's coming down in weight. So will he make weight? They haven't announced anything in terms of penalties, but this fight is taking place at 130. So obviously Santa Cruz, he's going to make weight. He's a model professional, always in the gym, doesn't live that lifestyle of clubs and all that. He's got a family at home. He's got no problem. He's going to be ready. So it's really to Davis to be ready, and he's good. I think this is the first time I've seen him. I know he has done bits with Mayweather, and it'll be interesting to know because I haven't really said is Mayweather actually his trainer now, like for this fight, because all the clips I've seen is just Mayweather training. I haven't actually seen his ordinary trainer, and I believe they're based in Baltimore. So perhaps now I'm not sure about in terms of boxing technician, and I'm not sure about, in the ring advice, how good Mayweather is going to be at that. But in terms of um, somebody that can, get you through a training camp, keep you in shape, give you that mental awareness, yeah, mate, there's no one better than Mayweather. He's been on the big stage, he's done it all, he lives the life. So I think that's only going to benefit Davis. I think it's a great fight. Who do you say that they would want to win? It's a hard one. Again, they're both with, like I said, Leo Santa Cruz is with PBC. Davis is with Mayweather, but that's basically PBC. So I think there's no one here that you could say they'd want to lose. Maybe obviously Santa Cruz is kind of coming not to the end of his career, but he's definitely just probably a little bit past his peak. Obviously, where Davis is coming into his peak is that big star, and he needs these kind of fights to kind of go to that next level. Obviously, he's now looking to be a pay per view star. Not probably the greatest time to be doing pay per views. Be interesting to see how this does, but they're looking at him as probably the next big pay per view star, and he's got everything really. He's got apart from him personally, in terms of his personality, is a bit off. But he's got Mayweather if he ever chooses to talk for him. Obviously, he's got the KOs. He's got that flashy lifestyle. I just don't think he's that. He doesn't seem as that smart a guy, and he's actually got. No one talk about. He's got a case pending for something to do with his the mother of his child. So that's probably potentially not a good look. But this is definitely, in my opinion, the biggest fight that's taking place. That's actually been announced taking place right now is this fight, and like I said, it's going to be an all action fight. Santa Cruz comes forward. Davis has got that power. It's going to be a great fight, and I'll do a better review closer to the time. But yeah, look out for this one because it's definitely in my opinion the best fight that's been announced so far. I'm not sure where it's going to be on in the UK. Obviously, it's pay-per-view in America. It won't be pay-per-view here because they're not. Davis has fought here before, but he's not a big name. And Santa Cruz, obviously, he's fought Frampton, but I'd be shocked if it's pay-per-view here. So hopefully, Sky. I know BBC had their deal with ITV, but that seems to be like dead and buried, to be honest, because I haven't really heard nothing about that. So um, likely Sky or BT will pick up. It's a great fight, man. It's definitely regular Sky. I'm not sure if there's anything around October the 24th, other fights on Sky, but yes, it's a great fight. Like, so hopefully someone picks that up and we get to view that. Cool. So the next fight I will talk about is this fight. Sorry. Yes, I'm not sure how to get rid of this because I do not want you. Alexi Hirsch is earning millions. Okay, that's good for you. But right. So the next fight, how do I get rid of this? All right. Anyway, we're gonna have to just do it. I'm not sure who Alexi Hirsch is, but we'll just do it. So the next fight again, it's been agreed, is the Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez fight. So this fight was scheduled to take place before lockdown anyway. Look, as you can see, they're both here after Lopez won the belt against Richard Cormier. They both met in the ring, and so this fight was due for a long time. Now, in terms of the actual, there's been issues because obviously for Teofimo Lopez, it depends how you look at it. Does he have anything to lose or does he have everything to lose? He's a young upcoming fighter. He's only 22 years old. Obviously, if he takes a loss in boxing, they'll say his career's over. But sometimes it can happen the other way. He can take a loss and then his profile would be raised, and obviously he's got time to work his way back. So, but it's a key fight for him. And the same with Lomachenko. He's getting up there in age. He's like professionally, obviously he hasn't been had that many professional fights. I'm not sure if it says how many professional fights he's had, but he came from the amateur. So here you see um, he's had Lomachenko's had 14 fights, Lopez had 15, but obviously Lomachenko's got the amateur pedigree with how many, there was it 300 odd fights he had in the amateurs. So in terms of wear and tear, he is getting up there, and we've seen him take a bit of punishment, even though he uses great foot movement. We've seen him take a bit of punishment. So obviously it's a vital fight for him, and obviously there was a bit of issues in terms of the money. There's no crowd, so maybe the money got lowered. Now, one thing is I'm not sure about all these fights is that have they been announced on the basis there will be a crowd? Because obviously the way boxing is looking is that they're saying October, November they'll start letting crowds in. That'll be interesting because if there's a second wave, there ain't going to be no crowds, and then fights like these will they happen? Because I think they offered Lopez 1 million, and he said he wasn't happy with that. Obviously, career-defining fight against Vasily Lomachenko, 1 million is it a lot? Maybe not. Ryan Garcia, another guy who's nowhere near um, Lopez's stature in terms of fights and pedigree. He's been complaining about not getting £1 million paydays. So I think Lopez has got a point. Lomachenko has actually said he's actually reduced the amount he's taking for this fight. So um, yeah, but I don't know if it's with a crowd. So are they expecting a crowd? That would be interesting because it might not. But it might not happen. But terms have been agreed nevertheless, and we're all set. And it's a great fight, man. It's a great fight. It's a unification fight. Obviously, they've made Lomachenko the WBC franchise champion, which is a bit of a shame. And then Devin Haney won the belt when it became vacant. But you could say this is for the undisputed belt, even though the official WBC belt is not on the line, and I don't know what this franchise belt is. So it's a unification fight. So it's a big fight, man. This is a big fight. Arguably, some people will say this is a bigger fight than the Davis and Santa Cruz fight. I think in terms of stature, it is. In terms of catch, like what will do the bigger ratings. Obviously, I think Davis and Santa Cruz, and this is on their ESPN, so that just shows you they're not even putting this on pay per view. Lomachenko, he has a good fan base, but I don't think he's that popular in America. He's more popular in European. And Timofimo Lopez, again, he's only 22. He's nowhere near as big as Davis or Santa Cruz, but he's coming up there. It's a great fight. Um, Literally, we're going to see again. going to be Lopez is going to come in there big. He's 135er. He's been there all his career. He looks like a big boy. Apparently, he walks around 150, 160. So potentially he's going to move up soon, but he's only young. He's got power. If you saw the knockout he did to Coleman, he's got power. If he catches Lomachenko, it could be lights out. Obviously, that's going to be his tactics because he can't outbox Lomachenko. He's a bit slow as well. His hand spin's a bit slow. So he's literally going to just try and soak up what Lomo gives him and try and land a big punch. Whereas Lomo is going to do the same thing he always does. He's going to come in there, use a lot of movement. He's been getting hit a lot recently, but he's going to come in there. He's going to use a lot of movement, and he's literally going to just either win on points or try and pepper you into submission, which he could do because Timofimo Lopez is not the fastest guy. And we've seen how well Lomo does his matrix style. I believe this is one of Lomo's last fights at 135. He's actually moving back down potentially because he says he's not even really a 135er, but I think he came from 126 to 130 to 135, but he was chasing the glory and just wanted to go up to win belts there. And for a guy that's only had 14 fights, he's free weight world champion. He's won multiple belts. This is a great achievement. Would he go to 140? Would love him to go to 140 because you've got Josh Taylor there and fights like that waiting for him. But I think maybe that's a bit too much for him. But yeah, he'll be going back down. It's a big fight, Like I said, in terms of what's on the line, all the belts. It's a big fight, man. Look out for this fight. It's definitely going to be a big fight, and it's not on pay-per-view in America, so it's definitely not going to be on pay-per-view in the UK. Obviously, ESPN, I think, I've got a deal with BT, so likely be on BT Sports. But it's a big fight. It's really a big fight. I think definitely in terms of the end fights announced, this is definitely up there. Yeah, I'll do a full review closer to the time. But yeah, look out for this fight. Look out for the build-up as well. Well, I don't think the build-up. Well, Lopez is quite a brash young man, and his dad used to be a boxer as well. They're quite brash, so they've got that father and son partnership. Lomachenko, obviously his dad is a trainer as well, so that could be interesting. But obviously Lomachenko, I'm not sure he speaks the greatest English. In terms of the trash talk, it might not be there, but you've got the father and son combinations as well. Which just going to add to it as well. So it's going to be an amazing fight, and yeah, just definitely one put on your calendar because that is going off. And then the last fight that's been announced, obviously, well, some people say is it a big fight? Some people say, I think with what's gone on in terms of, again, this is on pay-per-view in November. With what's gone on in terms of Earl Spence Jr., this has now become a big fight. Before potentially wouldn't have been a big fight, which is Earl Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. So obviously, when I say it wouldn't have been a big fight before, Dennis Garcia, is he an elite fighter? No, because he's been to that level and he's come up short twice. The first time was against Keith Thurman, arguably a Thurman in his prime, which was a lot better. If they rematch now, I probably would give Danny Garcia the edge. But he came up against a Keith Thurman in his prime, and it was a close, I think, split decision. But I thought Thurman did win it, and really, the second fight against Sean Porter. Again, a close fight, but I thought Porter just won it. And Danny Garcia has always been kind of his lack of foot movement and speed and his work rate. He's more of a counter puncher. Has kind of been one of the things that have gone against him. So, yeah, in normal sense, I wouldn't say this is a pay-per-view fight, and I wouldn't say this is uh, um, that competitive fight, solid fight, but not a great fight. What makes it a great fight and what potentially makes it a pay per view fight is because of Earl Spence Jr. We know he got in this car accident. Before that, it was arguably him and Terence Crawford were the 1 and 2 in the division. Whichever way you can have it. Obviously, some people say Spence is the bigger guy. Some people say Crawford, he's got the more skill set. Whichever way, it's not going to change. That's the 1 and 2. Spence was on a roll. He was fighting in pay per view. He was getting his profile up. He was getting some big victories. He beat Mike Garcia. I wouldn't say it's a great victory, but he showed he could box. Then he beat Porter. And Porter's a dog. And a lot of people say it was a close fight. And it was a close fight. And people said, "Oh, Spence struggled against Porter." Listen, Spence fought Porter's fight and beat him at his own fight, and not a lot of people do that. Porter lost to Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman used a lot of movement in that fight. He didn't go toe to toe with Porter, and when he did, he got caught a lot. Porter lost to Kell Brook. Again, Kell Brook was using his strength and was tying him up. He wasn't going toe to toe with him. So Errol Spence Jr. is the only guy that actually stood in the pocket and went toe to toe with him and actually dropped him. So that to me it shows how good Spence Jr. is. But obviously, we don't know how good he is after the car accident. Is this a case of a cash out fight for him, and they're trying to keep it an in-house fight? So, or because you don't know, you just really don't know, or is it a case of in these times there's no warm-up fights, they're not gonna give Spence the money because Spence has been getting big money, he's on that 5 million, £3 million now. So is it a case of he said, okay, give me a warm-up fight, a top 20 guy, and I'll take, but I still need to be paid 1 million or 1 million too, and they were just like, no, we haven't got those kind of fights for you. So um we just don't know what kind of fight this is. But for somebody that's coming off a life-threatening car accident, uh, this is a big fight because Danny Garcia. One thing about Danny Garcia we all know is he's got that left hook, and that has got power in it. And if it catches you, and your chin is not stable, and you have issues, we will find out in this fight if Spence Jr. is back because Garcia will test him. He's not going to be one of them guys where he'll just fight some useless guy and Spencer Jr. will win and we just think we still don't know. The questions are still unanswered. No, the questions will be answered in this fight. We will know if Spence Jr. is back. And listen, he's taking the fight. He's been training. He must be fit, but he ain't even going to know till he gets in the ring. So it's a great fight in terms of what's happened to Spence Jr. because it's an unknown. We don't know what kind of fight. Because if he's not the Spence Jr. that was beating the Porters and the Garcias and was at that level, then Danny Garcia is going to find him out. Because Danny Garcia, like I said, I don't think he's an elite fighter, but he's definitely a very good fighter. He's taking some good guys close. So if Spencer Jr. is not at that level, he will take him close. And like I said, this is a big fight. It's been announced. Again, it's a big fight. I'm not sure if it's let's see if there's any information. Okay, it's at the Microsoft Theatre in Los Angeles. So again, I'm not sure. It's on Fox Sports. I'm not sure if they're expecting crowds in a sense of if Corona, if something happens again, we get whatever, then another indoor stay. Then will the fight be on? But it's announced, and it's a big fight. But it's a big fight for the unknowns. If this was straight after the Porter fight, which was when it was meant to take place, and Spence, as long as he was focused, because he was losing a bit of focus, as long as he was focused and he didn't have the car accident, I wouldn't say this was it would still be a good fight, but I wouldn't say it was a big fight because obviously, Spence would be expected to win and he'd probably be quite heavy favourites against Danny Garcia. And it would probably just be a case of, we know Spence is going to win, but can he knock Danny Garcia out? Because I don't think Danny Garcia's even been dropped. He's got a solid chin. It would have been one of those fights. Can he do what other people haven't done? Because obviously to knock Danny Garcia out, that would make a big statement. Or is it a case of he's just going to go 12 rounds with him, which will probably make less of a statement? But in terms of now, because of what Spence Jr. has gone from, it's turned into a big fight now because we don't know what he's on, and Danny Garcia he's gonna test him. Ordinary times, like I said, you give Spence the victory, and it'd be just a case of can Spence, he's got everything. He's got the work rate, he's got the feet movement, he's got the hand speed. He could beat Danny Garcia in so many different ways. I personally feel he could beat him up close with the body shots. I feel like he could beat in boxing because Garcia to me is not the greatest boxer. He can beat him with movement. It would just be a case of whether he can knock him out. But now, obviously, with everything that's going on, it's more of a case of what is Spence still the real Spence, and with Danny Garcia, we're going to find out. So big fight for me, and yeah, it's a big fight in that aspect. And again, it's a fight that's been announced. So yeah, definitely look out for these 3 fights: Gervonta Davis, Leo Santa Cruz, Vasily Lomachenko, and Teofimo Lopez, and Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. These are the biggest fights that have actually been announced. Obviously, there's other fights. We're still waiting on a Joshua announcement. We're still waiting on a Wilder Fury announcement. Not sure what Canelo's doing. Pacquiao, Golovkin, all these traditional big fighters. Obviously, we've got Dillian White and Povetkin. I'll do a separate video on that because that's the big fight and that's coming up next. So I haven't included it here. I was talking about obviously past that. So in terms of like what's going on past that and that's been announced, these are the biggest fights, and yeah, all of them in different ways are going to be interesting. So definitely check out for them when they happen, and yeah, stay tuned. Like I said, I'll be doing a White Perfection preview. So stay tuned for more videos on football and boxing. Footbox TV. Peace. Like and subscribe. I'm out.